Okay, thank you all for joining us. Today is the mid-season election results and the polls on the favorite candidates for the upcoming 2024 elections. And I'm your candidate, Nick Mick. And let's just go over some of the brief topics of concern. So I got this nice little PowerPoint here for my campaign. And the slogan is "I will," like I will, but it's me will, but I will. Yeah, because before the slogan was "I can," so now the slogan will be "I will," because you can, but you will. It's different. If you're in a position of power, you should, not that you can, but you should and you will. So that will be the slogan kind of going forward. It took a lot of creativity and brainstorming, but we ironed it out. So some of the topics are like education, the capitalism stuff, like where the tax dollars go and subsidies, things such as healthcare, medicine, education, housing, green energy. And then I have this nice little section of science, like research into gravity, the theory of everything, which was started maybe a decade ago, electricity storage and transfer, and more medicine, breakthroughs and breakthroughs and breakthroughs. Then we got things like the infrastructure, manufacturing, and trade, imports, exports. And we got more capitalistic things such as businesses, entrepreneurship, reliefs, red tape, regulations, private versus public entities, manufacturing and trade. I said that jobs and the economy. So the unemployment rate, good quality, high paying, stable, unionized jobs or government jobs, and how the overall economy and GDP is doing. Culture and ethics, so our societal values. Probably crime gets bundled into there as well. And then the emergency task force, so the Navy, the responding to natural disasters and epidemics, and just answering the public's demands. That's a good summary. I'll go with that. Let's break these things down a little more specific topics. So first of all, you got to know how the political system of the Americas works. You have the Congress. You have three branches: the Congress, the Senate, and the legislative branch. So Congress works with the Senate, works with the Prime Minister. And then you have the legislative, which makes the laws, and the judicial, which is the Supreme Court and the layers. And then you have each of the 50 states. They have their own constitution and three branches: governor, legislative, and judicial once again. So they have their own. And then you have the cabinet and the armed forces and the executive office. So a lot of collaboration goes into the decision making and policies. So yeah, then I got some slides, just some basic points like for healthcare, education, medicine and health, medications, what's subsidized from Obamacare versus healthcare in general, housing affordability. So in the terms of the housing affordability, a lot of factors come into play, like interest rates, but mainly, and supply and demand, but mainly it's the overall health of the economy that reflects housing rates, like supply and demand. So if it's an economic spurs or economic downturns, that's going to influence home prices based on supply and demand and outlook. So outlook on what's going to drive home sales and prices. And then you have interest rates, and which determine mortgage rates, the central bank, and then you have their own competition, so location of the properties and the competition between lenders for mortgage rates and real estate. So you have some competition factor there as well. Just some little tidbits so you know more well-informed knowledge. Green energy, I mean, if we can make it profitable, and it has been profitable, the cost of green energy has sufficiently been reduced and technologies have been improved. So it's becoming more and more as a viable option, but we should fund it more. And the only way to do that, unfortunately, is through subsidies and incentives. There's no other way you're going to push for green energy until it becomes really the most economical and efficient method for power generation, storage, and transfer. Yeah. Culture and ethics, curb crime. We got to curb crime. We need superheroes to curb crime. I don't know how we're gonna do it. Let's hypothesize on this. How are we gonna curb crime? Traditional strong families. Okay. And communities. Okay, so communities and families, role models, and just the opportunity for employment without the need for crime. If you can make money and have a career and fuel your passions with the love and support of a family and a community, then crime will go down. And you can have freedom and enjoy liberties. And faith in God and areas of worship. Yeah, the freedom to practice religion. Yeah, and the government as a leading example of this patriotism and good faith. What else can we say? Let's add a closing note. I mean, it comes down to left versus right, which is the spending of the government and its policies, which are more like democratic and socialistic versus more right-wing. And that comes down to the tax rates and how much services are offered. But the goal is the same, whether people pay out of pocket for services or the government makes safety nets and subsidizes services for those in need. We want everyone to be able to have these services and to be able to pay for these services through some method or another. So we got to figure out and the way we're going to do it is with graphing. I'm an analytical person, so we're going to make a lot of graphs for what's the best tax rate and how much, where we can distribute this income to best serve public policies. So we need a lot of experts. We need a lot of statisticians, data scientists, and just engineers in general to analyze this data. And so yeah, we're gonna graph out the tax rates and where we can best spend our money, And we need to grow the economy, so we need to stimulate people having jobs. What else? So then lead in trade. So trade with partners, free trade agreements, low tariffs, good imports to export balance, fund the manufacturing sector, homegrown products, good wages, good blue collar jobs, unionized jobs, good safe emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, paramedics, good emergency services that are trustworthy, patriotic, and heroic, brave. So good duty of those that offer their services. Subsidies and setting the rates, working with the central banks to set the appropriate interest rates and to avoid recessions and downturns or minimize the effects of recessions because they're inevitable, and to ultimately grow the economy at a wealthy pace, healthy pace. And that will be, working with and set the government policy on subsidies and incentives and tax rates, and where there's more regulations and red tape, try and meddle a little bit with corporations, but not too much in free market capitalism because it's inevitable. People just love free market capitalism. So try and encourage competition and the free market dynamics to incite innovation and more good paying jobs and more employment and more entrepreneurship, but regulate it a little bit so it's more fair towards the labor force, the workforce, and not just a profit churning machine which benefits the board of directors and the high-end shareholders. So make it a little more socialistic with some specific red tape, like but allow the competition to thrive and allow businesses to grow and maintain levels of profits and expand and grow their workforce, but be more fair to the laborers and just the economy in general. Like, don't stifle resources or competition, and avoid monopolies that are unhealthy. So some regulation. There's not much you could do, but you could do a little bit. So avoid bribery and corruption and not step on anybody's toes, but understand that it's a win-win situation. So if you do these good things, good steps, your company will be seen in a better view, better angle, and you will grow your company even more. You'll get a tailwind. So if you take these steps to adhere to public policy a little bit more, you'll get a tailwind of more revenue and more sales, actually, because people will see your company as for what it really is: trustworthy and ethical and with good morals. So some selective regulation on large corporations and the capitalistic system that we live in. So there is that, which will benefit the families and workforces. Education, in good faith, trust, and we're gonna build the core from the central government standpoint, but it's a lot of moving parts, which comes down to the individual states and everybody doing their part. So as long as everybody's happy and can follow their passions, things will fit into place and we will reduce crime. So you just gotta start anywhere. Start churning the wheels. Start from here, here, here. Anybody can do their parts to be a hero, and it'll all fit into place as long as you take one day at a time. That's been my philosophy always. One foot in front of the other, even when you're at your lowest, even when you're at the most turbulent, troubled times. Just one step in front of the other, one day by day. One foot in front of the other. Climb those steps, crawl those inches, and eventually you build a mountain. You get to the top of the mountain and you look down on everything and you see how magnificent everything really is. So that's what you gotta do. Through setbacks, through good times, through hard times, through bad times, through good times, through prosperous times, through prosperity, into prosperity. And we out here. Once again, this was the interim debates. Vote in the polls. Share it with a friend. Get it on your audiobook, on your ebook, on your podcasts. And vote on the news. Only like 30% of people vote. So let's try and get that number up to 70% or 60%. That'll be a really big help. Just vote. Just get out and vote. Whatever. Just vote. Just go for it. No one's going to hurt you. So do that. Okay. Wait, how does the Star Trek symbol go? Live long and prosper. Live long and prosper. Peace.